Greetings, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today is Viewer Appreciation Day. So what we're going to start doing here once or twice a month is I'm going to be hand selecting one of our longtime loyal viewers to join me on a very special show to do one of, whether it's a Ranking the Albums, Deep Cut Dive, Top 10 Songs, whatever it might be. And today we've got Jamie Laszlo, who's been doing his best Elton John impression. Look at this. Oh, absolutely perfect.
We got to get fancy. It's Elton John. Let's get flashy.
That's right. Absolutely. He's got all the trappings. What's happening, Jamie?
Let me go back to boring Jamie Laszlo.
How you doing this weekend?
Jamie Laszlo. All right.
How's everything going with you this weekend? Good? You ready for some Elton John?
I'm great. It looks like rock fantasy behind me.
I'm telling you, Steve, all you need is a couple pinball machines. What do you got
They
there?
don't fit. I'd get them, but they don't fit.
Yeah, well, you know what? They don't fit in Steve's house either. That's why he's got like 3 sheds in his backyard filled with
This is my dining room.
Yeah. Very cool. So what we're going to do today is, obviously everybody knows Elton John has a ridiculously long catalog. I think there's 30 studio albums. So Jamie and I are each going to count down our 10 favorite studio records, which, easier said than done, although for me, a lot of his best stuff was done in the 70s, but he had some good stuff in the 80s as well. So Jamie and I have not shared lists, so I have no idea what he's picked, and he says he kind of has a feeling which ones I have, but he doesn't know the order, so we'll see momentarily, I guess. So as always, my esteemed guest will get to start off with his number 10. So Jamie, I turn it over to you.
All right, Pete. I don't know about you, but I haven't heard every single 80s album front to back. It's hard. They're hard to get through.
Yeah.
I own a bunch. Breaking Hearts, Greg Strikes Back, Leather Jackets. They're pretty awful. It's amazing how he went from that 70s stuff, Too Low for Zero, Jump Up, one after another.
And there might be a track or two on there, or 3 that might be decent.
The hits aren't bad.
Yeah.
The hits weren't bad. So if you put all those hits on one album, which is basically Greatest Hits Volume 3, you got a decent album.
Yeah.
But all the deep cuts, if we did a deep cut dive, none of those songs would make it. Yeah. Maybe Hoop of Fire from Leather Jackets. That's pretty good. Anyways, let's go into my countdown. First of all, can I give a quick history of me and Elton?
Yeah, go right ahead. Yep.
Music. I don't want to make it sound like we had a relationship or anything. Just I was a metalhead in the 80s. A teenager. And I knew Elton. I knew his hits. And it was cool. But HBO, I think it was HBO, played a concert in 1987 over. It seemed like it was on 3 times a day of him live in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Orchestra. And I remember the first time, we didn't have HBO, but we could hear it, and the picture was scrambled. So there'd be like that squiggly line in the middle.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And as a teenager, sometimes I'd go to HBO hoping there was a rated R movie on. And maybe I could catch a boob in the corner of the squiggly line. Teenagers, right? So one time I went to that channel and Elton John was playing and he was doing all these deep cuts that I had never heard before. I sat there and said, he does music like that? I had no idea. And every time it was on, I'd watch it through the stupid little speaker on the TV and was amazed. And it finally came out on CD. And to this day, my favorite live album of all time.
Wow.
Live Bullet comes pretty close by Bob Seger. But as I always say, Live Bullet makes me move. This one moves me. So.
It's a great track selection on that album.
Oh, Tonight gives me shivers on that album.
Yeah.
So, number 10.
Number 10. Believe
it or not, I'm going to 2006.
That's a good one. Yeah,
it's a decent one. Yes, it's very good. It's Captain and the Kid, a sequel to Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. Normally, when bands try to do a sequel to a classic album, they're trying to tell you, hey, I'm going to capture that magic back. I'm going to do the best I can. And sometimes it works, like with this album. Without naming names, sometimes it doesn't. Queensrÿche! Excuse me. Queensrÿche! But this album actually has a song on there called Blues Never Fade Away. Not only is it one of my favorite later day Elton John songs, it's one of my favorite songs by him, period.
Wow.
It's that good. I mean, just like Noah's Ark, sounds like it could have been on his early stuff. The bridge, I think that was like a single, but didn't do very well, but it's still pretty good. So that is my number 10.
Very solid album. I agree. My number 10, I'm going to go all the way back to 1969, Empty Sky.
And I figured you'd pick that one, so I got the other album cover.
There you go. Yep, that's right. I kind of like yours better because this is, I mean, there's a charm about this one, I guess. But, yeah, you know what? Pretty good album. Different, really different. I think, the title track is awesome. Valhalla is a pretty kind of cool, really late slice of psychedelia, I think. It's got, of course, Skyline Pigeon, which is absolutely fantastic. Gulliver, it's Hey Jude reprise is pretty cool too. Hymn 2000. I just think it's a album that kind of showcases where he was at the time. Hasn't quite found his way yet, but I think there's a kind of like a naivety about this album, which I really enjoy quite a bit. And make no bones about it, man, his keyboard skills are all over this album in a big way. And I think it kind of shows maybe the type of stuff he was playing before he became, really big. And, no surprise that he was playing with some of the Gentle Giant guys back in this time frame, because if you listen to some of his skills on here, pretty damn good. So I like that.
Four Gateway is another good song off that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the whole
album
album
is almost jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rocking. Yep.
Number 9 is going to surprise some people. The One from 1992.
Well, you know what? I'm okay with it.
You see it?
Yeah.
This came out right in the same time I was listening to Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and this was right in the mix when I was at Penn State. Simple Life, great song. The One, my sister used for her wedding song. It's a good ballad, but the hidden gem here that should have been a huge rock radio hit back then, but because rock radio kind of stopped playing Elton John in the 80s, they never really went back to him. But there's Runaway Train on here that he does with Eric Clapton.
Yep.
And most of the time you go, it was 1992. It's probably not as good as I'm imagining it is. It is. It sounds like a runaway train, and Clapton is playing his ass off.
Yeah.
Awesome song.
Yeah. I like that album. I think that album is chock full of really good songs.
Yes.
I think it kind of gets forgotten because of the period that it came out in. Like I said, made big money for him back in the day. But I think when people look back on the career of Elton now, it's like anything like post like 1980, other than maybe, one or two of those albums in the mid 80s kind of get forgotten. But that actually is a really good one. I agree. It's quite strong. Number 9 for me, self-titled from 1970. I think, here's where Elton's kind of trying to figure out the path that he's going to go on. It's got the huge Your Song on here, which is a classic, obviously, but it's got, I love Border Song. Border Song is absolutely tremendous. How about The Cage? What a great rockin' song. I was listening to it again this morning. I'm like, damn, I love this song. It's so good. And Take Me to the Pilot, which absolutely is a top 10 song for me for Elton. And, there's a lot of other good songs on here, but man, like those 3-4 songs for me make this album. And they're so good amidst, the rest of the album is good, but because of those songs, that has kind of catapulted this one into my top 10.
Well, naturally, that's coming up on my list. It's not like I left it out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We disagree a little bit on that album. Oh, we disagree a whole hell of a lot.
That's okay. No, it's a good album. I mean, everything on my list is, like I said, my order can change at any time. And there are days where I might be listening to this. I'm like, yeah, this is one of my favorites. And there are other days, like in the last couple of days, putting this together, I'm like, I love it, but I think I like some of the other ones a little bit better. That's all. Legendary album.
I got confetti in my water.
Uh-oh.
I wanted to point that out.
Is it digestible confetti or?
No.
No.
I'll be picking up this confetti for the next 8 months.
But it made for good viewing, so that's all right.
All right, another surprise maybe. Number 8. Like I said, all those 80s albums I'm not down with. But in 1989, he won me over again with a forgotten album, Sleeping with the Past. Sacrifice was a pretty big hit on this, but it's one of my least favorite songs on it. Not that it's bad, but Healing Hands, man, what a song. Nobody I know, my wife loves Elton John and doesn't like that song, so maybe it's just
I like it.
But Blue Avenue, that could have been on a mid-70s album. Durban Deep. And when my first year of college, I had a Japanese roommate, spoke zero English. Zero. Every time somebody called and I wasn't there and he had to tell me who called, it was charades. What? Oh, it must be my sister. He's going down low. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Every time I walked into the room, though, our dormitory, he was playing this album. So it actually reminds me of Kenji. Love this album. If you haven't given this a try out there, give it a try.
Yeah, like over the last year or two, when I've been kind of scooping up a lot of his latter period stuff, I think that's the last one I actually bought, and I was surprised at how pretty solid it is. It actually really is. Definitely better than some of the early stuff in that decade.
Oh yeah, there's a moody darkness to that album.
Yeah, which is good. And you look at the album cover and it perfectly conveys.
Yeah, it looks more serious.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 8, let's go to 1975, Rock of the Westies.
Almost made my top 10.
You know what? This is a pretty rocking album, I think. And this is
maybe his most rocking.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with that. It's probably also him at the height of his cocaine abuse, right? That's a lot of talk about, those couple albums that he was doing. Of course, it's got the big hit Island Girl on it, but it's got, Street Kids and Hard Luck Story, which is really good. Billy Bones is another great song. It's just, I think and the medley to kick off the album is really cool. I just think it's a good up-tempo rock album. Maybe it doesn't have all of the really kind of catchy instant hits like a lot of his other albums do, but I kind of like it for that, right? It's I think this is around the time where he was basically at the top of the world. It's amazing when you go look back at the history of Elton John. This guy had how many albums in a row that were mega sellers, top 10 hits all over the place.
Sometimes 2 a year.
Yeah, exactly. From 73 to 76, this guy was just releasing 1-2 albums easily a year, and was just all over the place, maybe to the point where it got to be a little oversaturation. I don't know. But after this album is when the sales kind of start to dip a little bit, and maybe the formula was kind of wearing a little thin with some people, overexposure, I don't know. And the album cover doesn't really.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's real
so
goofy
odd
shot.
That's his most rocking album with that cover, because that cover screams a lot of things, but rock and roll ain't one of them.
No, not at all. So, but you know what? I still like it. So
that was going to be my shout out, my honorable mention. The thing with that album, though, is a lot of the songs are a little too long, 5-6 minutes.
Which is not a trademark of his. I think Elton's always been good when he includes one longish tune on every album, but not more than that, right?
Yeah, he knew when to fade out.
Yeah. But a good album, nonetheless.
Number 7, Captain Fantastic. I think all of our albums are going to be pretty similar now going on. Let's see, what's this got? Someone Saved My Life Tonight. It's a good song. Curtains. This got Curtains, the last song on it. Wonderful song. And you know what? I love it when the best song on the album is the last song. Because as I'm listening, it gives me something to look forward to. That big finish. It's coming. Oh, this song is all right, but Curtains is coming. Yes. Great album.
The definition of deep cut.
Hey, same year as that album. Rock of the Westies, right?
Yes. Yep. Both 1975.
How did he just fart out this music like it was nothing?
I don't know. Him and his buddy Bernie were busy, I guess. Yes. I think it's crazy. That's one of those writing partnerships that will go down in history when it's all said and done. When both you and I are either in the ground or old and feeble, we're going to look back on some of the best songwriting duos ever. And how is that not in the top 3? It's got to be.
Right.
Lennon, McCartney, Elton John, Bernie Taupin. I mean, it's just doesn't get much better than that. All right, my number 7 from 1974, Caribou. Another really strong album with a lot of really good tunes on it. You know, The Bitch Is Back kicks it off.
Great song.
Good rockin' song. You know, you got Grimsby, which for me is like one of the best deep cuts on this album. Fantastic. You're So Static is really good. Man, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Gorgeous, gorgeous song. A lot of good songs on here. You know, one of those, I think, underrated Elton classics. And again, right in the middle of that period where he's just being so prolific and every album just gets released and sells millions of copies. 3 top 10 hits or more, sold out tours. He's celebrating, doing all the blow he can, and you know, whatever. But yeah, just really good album. Like all these albums are really strong. Really strong.
That did not make my list.
No,
I
wow,
re-listened
okay.
to it this past weekend. The wife and I were driving to go get Indian food, and I had it playing. And I turned to her and said, "Yeah, it ain't making the cut."
Not quite. Well, that's okay. That's all right.
My next one, number 6. For some reason, it reminds me of my number 7. I think because I bought them on the same day. They didn't come out the same year. No, they're 2 years apart, but they always kind of reminded me of one another. Don't Shoot Me. I'm only the piano player. See the movie theater. I think he was basing this off a French movie, film noir, called Shoot the Piano Player. I had to watch it at Penn State in film class, and I hated it. But it actually has a song on here called, what the hell is it? Oh, crap. Forget. But it does have Mercy on the Criminal.
Which is fantastic. Yeah.
It's like he has 3 deep cut, like epic songs that kind of remind me of one another. And that is one of them. Have Mercy on the Criminal. You cannot go wrong. And the live version look, if you haven't listened to that live album, stop what you're doing. If not you, Pete, we got a show to do. But if you're watching, hit pause, listen to that album, and come back. That will be in the right mindset, you and me.
Yeah.
Elderberry Wine, Teacher, I Need You. Those are rocking songs.
Elderberry Wine is so much fun.
Blues for Baby and Me, Midnight Creeper.
Oh, Midnight Creeper.
Yeah. And Texas Love Song. People forget how much country he used to put into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he did it well. He did it really well for a British guy, right?
Yes.
All right. My number 6, Captain Fantastic. Again, not maybe one of his more immediate albums, right? I mean, this is a little more dense, a little more serious, not all the big choruses and all that kind of stuff. But that's okay. A lot of people say that this is kind of his prog rock album. I don't know about that, but maybe by the album cover, which that is a spectacular album cover. I would love to have a T-shirt that has that. But yeah, I mean, you picked out a couple of great songs on here, and I think this is one of those albums that you got to really sit and listen to, because I think because it doesn't have all those immediate catchy hooks, you have to kind of appreciate it on a different level, right? And it's not an Elton John sing-along to album at all. But I like that for it, right? And it came, I think, at a time where he had all those string of albums that were just that, and now here's a little something a little more serious, a little more different from Elton, and I think it works on that level.
Yeah, I don't grab that album all the time, but when
I don't either.
do and I'm in the mood for it,
yeah. It's very satisfying when you're in the mood to hear it. But yeah, that's not like I would say, you know, if you're going to go grab an Elton John album in 10 instances, you may do that 1 out of the 10.
Yeah.
For me. But when you do, you're like, oh yeah, that's why.
And when the wife and I are hanging out and she wants to hear an album, I'm not grabbing that album.
No, it's the same thing with me. It's the same thing with me. Yeah, no. Yeah, my wife would not. Yeah, she'd be like, I don't know any of these songs. But,
yeah. Can you put on one I like? That's what I like. All right, number 5 might be surprising for people. And look, I like the album. It's in my top 5. But Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is also what I think it might be one of the most overrated albums of all time.
Wow, okay.
I mean, it has Funeral for a Friend. I actually have a 5.1 surround sound Blu-ray version. And when people come over and they want to hear my stereo system, I'll put on Funeral for a Friend as like, you want to hear something. And it's like an IMAX theater experience when I put that on in here.
Yeah.
But if that song wasn't on there, this might be a number 7 or 8 album for me. because, I mean, a lot of the songs are played out. The title track, I've heard too much. Candle in the Wind. You realize Candle in the Wind wasn't even a hit in America until 1987 on that live album that I like.
Yep.
It was a deep cut until 1987. Then the live version came out as a big MTV hit, top 40 hit. Then 10 years later, he did the Lady Di version. And now everyone knows it, and they assume that it was always a hit since the day the album came out. Yep. It was in the UK, but it wasn't here.
Right.
That's kind of played out. Grey Seal is good.
Grey Seal is fantastic.
Danny Bailey. The beginning of that, when he says, what's he say? Some punk with a shotgun killed young Danny Bailey. Boom! The drums come in. And it's like a shotgun. It feels like, oh, they did shoot him. Holy crap. Oh, Danny, is he all right? But it's got Jamaica Jerk Off. If that song was about driving in Jamaica and somebody cut you off, you went, yeah, you Jamaica Jerk Off, I'd be fine with it. But it's not about that at all. Yeah. He's using it how you think he's using it. And it kind of cheapens the album for me. So, but it's good. It's got harmony and social disease. It's number 5.
Number 5 is good. It's going to be a little higher for me, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, and I've talked to plenty of people over the years who thought that would have been a better single album.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of double, you know, I talk about all these classic double albums all the time. And there are a lot of people who are down on the big double albums because, you know, there's like 4, maybe 5 tracks that are a little on the average side that you get rid of them and it makes that album even better.
Blue Moves. His Blue Moves album should have been a single record.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff on there. Yeah, I agree with you. That one I agree with you on. It could have been trimmed a little. But all right, my number 5, and man, I almost wanted to put this a little bit higher, but the ones above it are just like this. And like you said, top 5 is really good. That's top shelf. Don't Shoot Me on the Piano Player. This is an absolutely terrific album. And this is an album that just gets better the more you listen to it as the years go on. It's just like, man, you know, you mentioned a lot of the great songs on here. It's just, and you know, you don't even need to mention Crocodile Rock because everybody knows how great that is. But so many of the other songs are as good, if not better. You know, Midnight Creeper, man, so good. High Flying Bird, another. Elderberry Wine is so much fun. You know, and Daniel, of course, everybody loves Daniel, right? Looks like Daniel. But yeah, it's I love it. Great album.
I don't like Daniel as much as most people. It's okay.
I mean, it's a fine song. It's a great pop song, but yeah, I've heard it a million times in my life, and you know, I have his mega hits. I like a lot. Others better.
Okay, number 4.
Yep.
Honky Chateau. Yeah. Believe it or not, Honky Cat for me is an okay song.
He's got better.
Yeah. I think I'm Gonna Kill Myself is a better version of that kind of song on here. And I like the breakdown that it goes into the melody out of nowhere because you got that honky tonk thing going, and then it goes. Oh, where'd that come from? You know, nice. Salvation is good, but Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. I mean, that title sounds like it should be on a Yes album.
Yeah.
Or a Gentle Giant album or something.
Yep.
And it's I think it's a quick song too. He actually did a part 2 of that. It's on Reg Strikes Back. It's awful.
I don't have that. Okay.
It's awful. I don't know why he did that. But Hercules is fun. It's got Rocket Man too.
Yeah.
So that is a solid 4.
Yeah, it's a great album. As is my number 4, Tumbleweed Connection, which again could have been higher. Like in my top like 5 are like they could change at any time, and I think this is. There are people who think this is the greatest thing he ever did, and I wouldn't argue that. And there are people who don't know this as well. Yeah, I mean it's that good. And I tell the story all the time. So before I was became like an Elton John, like I always liked his music, but other than having a couple of those first 2 greatest hits, I never, you know, up until like, you know, the late 90s, I never bothered to explore anything else. And I remember growing up as a kid, watching, and I'm drawing the Al Pacino film, with Amarena in it. That's the story I'm telling. I'm drawing a complete blank.
The One where they're robbing the bank?
Yeah. I've seen
Dog
it.
Day Afternoon?
Dog Day Afternoon. That's it. I was just drawing a blank on the name of the film. I've only seen it like 100 times. And I remember like, I love the movie because I'm a huge Pacino fan. And it's just, I'm from New York, and that's, a 70s New York film, and New Yorkers got to love that stuff. And the beginning of the film, they play like the first like minute and a half of Amarena. And I always loved it, and I never knew who it was. And because it doesn't really, that song, he sounds very American in that song. It almost doesn't sound like Elton. And for years, I was like, I love that song. Don't know who it is. And then, but eventually when I bought this, I was like, holy shit, that was Elton. I had no idea. And I absolutely love that song. But beyond that, some other, Country Comfort is so good. And it goes back to what you were saying before about how he could do that country rock stuff really, really well. Talking Old Soldiers is great. Love Song is great. Burn Down the Mission is an absolutely fantastic song. I love it. Where to Now, St. Peter. Just this whole album is just really, really strong. And like I said, it's number 4 for me today. Ask me a week or two from now, could be higher. I love it. And I think there's no disrespect to something that comes in the top 5 of a list like this. And these albums are that good.
It's a very American sounding album.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think he was going for that kind of rootsy thing.
Real quick, since you're from New York, Elton John or Billy Joel?
That's a hard one. I think the music overall of Elton probably speaks to me. You know what? I think I don't know. I can't even answer it. See how tough that is? It's really tough because they both are very, very special to me. I'm a New Yorker, and you have to, most people from this area love Billy Joel, and I absolutely do. I just, you know what it is? I think there's certain songs from Elton that might move me a little bit more than any of my most beloved tracks from Billy. I think that's what it comes down to. I think overall, I think Billy's got a much smaller discography, and some of those albums are just a little more tighter. And you know what I'm kind of getting at here?
Right.
It's like the stuff that I'm talking about specifically, the 70s stuff from Elton is almost unbeatable. So if you were to match up like Elton's 70s music with Billy's, I think Elton probably wins there. But if you're looking at the whole catalog, I think Billy's whole catalog overall is a little stronger. But I think when you're just picking out songs, as much as I love a lot of those Billy Joel songs, and I absolutely do, and they're part of my DNA, there are some songs by Elton that I think are untouchable that not even Billy Joel can touch. So I know that kind of doesn't answer your question because it's hard to just say one. It's hard to say one over the other. It really is.
And with Billy Joel, when the well went dry with him, what was his last album? The Bridge. He's like, that's all I got. I'm out of songs.
And I'm just going to go and play the hits now.
I can't write another one.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe that's good sometimes, right? Because he knows he's good. It's like I'll spend the rest of my career just going and playing the hits and making a boatload of cash, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah. All right, next one, number 3. Asked me 20 years ago, this would have been my number 1, but it dropped down to just not 2, but 3. Madman Across the Water.
Classic.
The major problem I have with this album is I'm a little tired of Tiny Dancer and Leave On, and they both kick off the record. So right when you put down the needle, it's starting with a 1-2 punch of songs you're kind of tired of. Not that they're bad songs. And when I'm in the mood, they're great. And you don't want to just skip to track 3. You want to enjoy the whole album. So that's part of the problem. That might be the only problem, Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a pretty good problem to have if if those two are a problem, right?
Yeah, your songs are too good and got played too much. Yeah, I don't like your album anymore. No, but it's number 3. Used to be number 1. But this has Indian Sunset, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. I always tell people it's a movie plays in your head as you're listening to that song. And then when I saw him last year on his farewell tour, he introduced the song as this song always played like a movie inside my head. I was like, aha!
There you go. He's got me.
Yes. And it has Razorface, which was stuck in my head all morning. Great song. All the Nasties is it's okay. It's got a good ending.
Yeah.
But number 3, the title track.
Can't forget that, right?
That's about as prog as he got. Maybe Funeral for a Friend, but Madman's pretty proggy.
It is. Speaking of prog, is that an ELP hat you're wearing?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
There you go.
How many of those you see in your life?
Not many. I was like, I'm sitting there looking. It's kind of small, and I'm like, all right, I know my
Yeah.
eyesight is not that great, but it kind of looks like ELP. My number 3, Honky Chateau from '72. Yeah, and I agree with you about Honky Cat. Decent enough song, but I don't think it's one of his best. But man, Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's Hercules. Mellow is a great song. I mean, you know, Rocket Man is classic, obviously. I've probably heard it too many times. Salvation. I mean, just a very, very, very strong album, top to bottom, and not a bad song on it, in my opinion. And again, coming from, I think, that period where he's really trying to Americanize his sound, and it completely works. Completely works.
Of all his 70s albums, that might be the one you can dance to the best. Has the most
it's got some really good rhythms to it. Yep, absolutely. I agree.
All right, these next two, neck and neck. It was your number 9 or something. But for me,
yep, number 9.
One of my favorite albums of all time, and it's coming in at number 2.
Yeah.
That's how good these albums are. First episode of Heinton. The Moog the Moog synthesizer. Why can't I say it, Pete? The Moog
synthesizer.
Yes.
Moog synth. There you go.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It is impossible to cry and sing at the same time. So as Elton sings that song, the Moog is doing the crying for him in the background.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. But Border Song sounds like something that was written 200 years ago that he is just like remaking. It's a timeless song, like maybe an old gospel song we used to sing in church. It's wonderful. And the lyrics at the end, how timely are they these days? There's a man over there. What's his color? I don't care. He's my brother. Let us live in peace. I'm getting goosebumps, Pete.
Yeah. It's an amazing song, and you know what? There's nobody else who could do that song but him.
And it has "The King Must Die," one of my other little mini epics in my mind that he did. That just people don't know about these songs. I play these songs for friends, and they go, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, it's like I said, a great album, and I know number 9 for me, but number 9 is really good because I think, like I said, anything in this top 10 for me is I love. It's hard to rank these albums because they're all so good, and sometimes it just depends on the mood you're in the week you're putting the damn list together, right?
Right.
So my number 2 is gonna be Madman Across the Water from '71. Yeah, I love Tiny Dancer and Leave On. They're great songs, and yeah, they're a bit overplayed, but man, Razorface. Indian Sunset. It's just the whole album is just really, really good. I will say I absolutely adore the title track, and I agree it's one of his most proggy songs. I like the alternate version better with Mick Ronson playing the guitar solo, which is on I forget which.
This Rare Masters.
Yeah. They threw it on another one of these. You know what it is on my CD reissue? It's on the Tumbleweed. It's on the. It's
yeah. They peppered these songs on the reissues.
Yeah.
As they reissued them.
And it's like, you know, the song itself is basically the same, but then it's got this really lengthy Mick Ronson guitar solo at the end that just like sends chills up my spine. It's like great guitar player that doesn't get enough credit, I think. But yeah, this is just a fantastic album, and I like the kind of it's like a little more serious tone to this album too. I think even like Leave On and Tiny Dancer are a little more on the kind of somber side, which I kind of dig. But yeah, fantastic production on this album is great too.
And great strings on that album.
Yeah, big time. Yep, it really works. Yep.
Number 1, as you probably saw coming.
Yep.
Tumbleweed, like you said, a lot of people consider it the best thing he's ever done. One of the third of those mini epics that I think he's done. Burn Down the Mission.
Fantastic. Yep.
Great song. What else is on this album? Let's see. I got notes, Pete, because I didn't want to forget things. Son of Your Father.
Mm-hmm.
What a great song. My Father's Gun. Come on. If you're not singing, if you listen to My Father's Gun and you're not singing by the end, then you're not alive.
Get your pulse checked. Yep.
Where to Now, St. Peter might have the best, the coolest, not the best, the coolest guitar part of any Elton John song. When it comes in like that, it's almost like, you know, Creep by Radiohead?
Yep.
You know, when the guitar comes out of nowhere, it's kind of like that in a way. Burn Down the Mission, Talking Old Soldiers, the painting Bernie and Elton puts in your head with Talking Old Soldiers, you want to hang out with those two guys and have a beer with them. Get the next round. Tell me stories, boys. let's do shots. Let's get wasted. But yeah, I was listening. You know what? I listened to this and the self-titled back to back, and I did the self-titled first. I'm like, this might be my number one. But then I put this on.
Yeah, that was it.
Like, that's it. That's my number one.
There you go. Like I said, I can't argue with it because it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, as you probably guessed, my number one, maybe a little cliche to pick this one, but I just absolutely love Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's big and epic, and you know what? I kind of like it as a 2-disc set. There may be 1 or 2 tracks that don't hold up as well as some of the other ones, but man, you know, Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding, amazing. I still really love Candle in the Wind a lot. You know, because it goes back to what you're saying. Back in the day, when this album came out, it wasn't the big hit here, right, at all. It became a big hit later on. So I think when it became the really big hit here, I really wasn't listening to the radio anymore. So my exposure to Candle in the Wind is more of my own doing, and I love it for that. It's got, you know, Benny and the Jets, silly song, whatever, but it's still really good. The title track probably for me is the most played out song on here, but I still love it. All the Girls Love Alice is absolutely terrific. I absolutely love that song. Sweet Painted Lady. I love the kind of like vaudevillian, like slow jazz of that. Really, really great. The Ballad of Danny Bailey, like you said. Man, what else? Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting still gets me fired up. It's a great hard rock song. Just, man, Gray Seal, for crying out loud. I mean, just so many terrific songs. Harmony, Social Disease. I would just love it. And I love the production on it. And I think this is just a big, epic Elton statement. And what more can you say?
I'm not a fan of Betty and the Jets.
Well, you know what? I know.
That's another problem with that album with me. And it's long. It's too long for me, too.
It's a little too long. And it's kind of like a nonsensical type of a thing.
And it's got the fake crowd noise.
Yeah. It is catchy, though. And it's
there's too
like
stop and go for me, maybe.
Yeah, there could be. There's a couple of, and I think we've kind of touched on a few of them. There's a couple of the huge Elton John hits that I'm like not as sold on as some other people are. And I think we've kind of already said there's some deep cuts in this catalog that should have been huge hits that are arguably better than a few of the songs that became enormous legendary tracks. And yeah, Benny and the Jets, that's, you know, I mean, I like it, but there's a lot of other songs that I like quite a bit better. So.
And in the 2000s, you know, he did Songs from the West Coast, Peachtree Road, The Union with Leon Russell. And he was really trying to get back to his roots on these albums. Sometimes they worked out more than others, but at least, you know, an A for effort on these albums.
Yeah.
But when you're doing crap music for 20 years and, you know,
you're trying to reverse the course.
It's hard to come back.
Yeah, it is hard coming back. So absolutely. Well, this was fun. There you have it. Ranking the studio albums of Elton John, at least at our top 10s, right? Because there's 30 of them, or there could be more. I don't know. Somewhere around 30. Way too many. But I think we kind of touched on the cream of the crop here. So I want to thank Jamie Laszlo for coming on the show and joining us here on this kind of inaugural edition of Viewer Appreciation Day. So what we're going to be doing over the course of the next few months is probably once, maybe twice a month, I'll be kind of hand selecting some longtime viewers who post a lot of really cool comments and interact with their fellow viewers and myself, and who I know have a lot to say about music. That's what this is all about. So this was fun, Jamie.
Right.
Hopefully you enjoyed this, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Pete, for having me. Gave me a reason to shave and put on regular clothes today.
There you go. Now, I think you got some work to do now because you bought a whole ton of stuff yesterday that you got to go listen to.
Yeah, I bought 65 albums, CDs, and cassettes. Each was 50 cents. So every time I looked at something, I bought stuff I already owned. But every time I saw it, I'm like, I was going to put it back down. I'm like, dude, it's 50 cents. Just put it in the bag.
Did you have a shopping cart? You must have a shopping cart.
Upstairs now.
You probably had 2 shopping carts full of stuff, right? Your wife's probably looking at you like, what are you doing here, dude?
Yeah. And they wanted 2 people per table because of COVID. That lasted all of 15 seconds. Everybody was.
Oh, I'm sure.
I got there early enough that I was out of there, though.
Was that like at a flea market or something, or a store?
No, it's a record store here in Columbus.
Wow.
One thing about Columbus is we got like 6 record stores, almost all within walking distance. So I know a lot of people don't have any, so I'm very spoiled with that.
Yeah, we got Rock Fantasy, 20 minutes from here, but other than that, not much of anything. So you're lucky. You're lucky.
All right, Pete.
All right, Jamie, thanks again. Everybody, thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Lots of good stuff coming up this week, so stay tuned. Put your comments below. Let's hear your top 10 favorite Elton John tracks. And have a good rest of the weekend, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. Jamie, take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye.